Hey there. I was asked about mirroring a pose. So let's go through how we can mirror a pose in Unreal 5.7. So there's a few different methods to do this. First, what we want to do. So I'm assuming that you know how to get this character into the scene and you know how to animate it. We've got this little animation here, and we are looking at just the left half animated right now. So let's look at bringing that animation over to the right half of the body. So first thing we want to do is look at the hotkeys. So these are the default Unreal Engine hotkeys. So if we bring up our editor preferences, we type mirror. And if we scroll down, we'll see this section called rig animation. You have add mirrored controls to selection, shift M, mirror selected controls, control shift M, mirror unselected controls, alt M, and select mirrored controls, control M. Then you have these paste mirrored save pose and select mirrored save pose. We won't be going through those, but we'll look at these just real quick. So at the very least, we can say we have this control over here that we have selected, the upper arm, and we hit Shift M, and then now we've added the other control to it. So now we can animate them both at the same time if we wanted to. So now we have the left arm selected, and you can do this with multiple controls too. So that's okay. If we hit Control Shift M, then we're pasting the pose that's on the opposite controls onto the controls that we have selected. So let's undo that. If we hit Alt M, we're going to mirror the controls that we have selected onto the opposite set. So let's undo that. Then we have Control M. So that just selects the opposite controls. So now that we've gone through those, I'll pull this off to the side here. That's great when you want to mirror a pose or select a mirrored pose. But what happens when you want to mirror an animation? So we have our left arm and our left leg right there, just animating away. And we're animating this run cycle. So it's kind of tedious. I don't think there's any default controls that can, say, mirror a timeline. So this is my method. So I select my control, and then I select my curve, and then I'll hit copy. I'll select my other curve, my other control. We can use the hotkeys for that. I believe it's Control M. Here, we'll just come here and we'll paste. And maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. Control M, or Control C, Control M, not Control New, and Control V. There we are. We'll do the same thing here. We'll select our control, we'll copy the curves. We have to go back out to hit Control M. We have to go into this viewport, then hit Control V, back into our curves. It's the same thing with the lower arm. We'll copy our curves, come back out here, Control M, and Control Paste back into the curves. And then our hand. I'm not sure I copied that. There we go. We'll copy, Control M. There we are, Control M, paste. So yeah, Control M, I believe, is a multi-select scale or multi-scale here. So it's got its own hotkey in the curve editor. And now that we have that, that's great. Now what do we do? So we can select all these controls, or we can add a new set over here. So we have our left arm set. So it's very easy to create a set. So we'll select our controls. There we are. Shift select. Then over here, we can say add set if we want. We can name that whatever we want. Delete that one because we already have that set that's here. So we have the fingers here. That should probably just be renamed fingers. Left fingers, left arm. Then we can right click on that and we can say select mirror. So that's nice. So we can select it that way. I don't think we can paste a mirror from here, but what we can do is, so once we've selected our mirror, we can create a mirror or select it. So we can add it here, and that creates it because we selected it. Or we can do that in one go, where we select this, we right click. Actually, we don't have to select it. We can just right click on it. And we say create mirror. Create mirror. No, it's not working. Let's try this one. Create mirror. There we go. Right fingers. So now if we select that, we have our right fingers. Let's try that on the arm one more time. Oop. Guess I removed the controls at some point. So we'll select all these again and add selection. So there we are. Right click, create mirror, and there we are, right arm. And we can select that there. So don't need that one, that key. Let's get rid of that key right there. So we're on our right arm. If we play our animation, it's doing the exact same thing. So we've mirrored it, but that's great. That could be great for what you're doing. But for a cycle, we'll do one more step where we'll offset the animation. So what I do is, with all the curves selected and all the controls selected, we'll copy the curves and then just paste them down. And then I'll come over here. I'll recognize what my in frame is, which is 24. So this is a cycle. I'll select my, this is the time field where the keys are. So hit minus equals 12 there. So it just offsets them and shifts them down 12. But it would help if I selected all the curves. Minus equals 12. There we are. So now we have that animation copied over. Excuse me. So you can delete what's outside the time range too, if you want. And that will still animate that way. It gets a little bit more tedious when you're looking at, say, each individual finger, because there could be problems with, at least I haven't figured out how, but say if we select all those and copy, and then we will Control M and paste that. Don't know exactly what we're going to get there. It might work, it might not. Looks like it's working. So then we'll come here, middle finger, copy, Control M, and then we'll paste that. See what we get. Of course, if we wanted to, we can select the whole fingers too. And then since there aren't that many keys, we can come here, hit Alt M, Alt M, Alt M, Alt M, and finally Alt M. That pastes the left hand over to the right hand for all those keys. So now we can select the right fingers here and delete this. Actually, we'll copy and paste, select all our curves, and minus equals 12. Now all of our fingers are mirrored too, all the animation on all the fingers. So that's nice. So now, let's show another way to mirror. So we have this pose here. Let's try this one. We're going to take this key too. So if we go over to poses, so if that's not selected, I'm going to come here and hit poses right here in our animation tab. Let's bring that over here. We want to hit create pose. You can name it whatever you want. Cool new pose, if I could type. Hit create. And right now, what we could do is we can select that control or select that pose, select controls. Now we can do that. Or we can hit the mirror option and hit select controls. And we can do that. We can select our controls on the opposite side. We can paste our pose. And with the mirror checkbox selected, we can hit paste. But what we want to do, because we pasted it, what we want to do is key it, paste pose. And then now there's a key there. So we can paste pose again. If we wanted to right there, but it just pastes that particular pose that you've saved. So it's not as fast or efficient. So if we just come here and select this again, because this is just one control, we can copy the curves, come to our other object, paste those curves, then we've got our animation pasted. So same thing, we want to copy those curves, paste them at the end, just because for the cycle, we'll need to offset it. And we don't want, we just want these curves here, the scale, rotation, and translation. Our minus equals 12 will offset. We can delete these keys outside the range. And now we have our left leg and right leg cycling together. Let's move this back. So using that, that pose function to save out a pose and paste a pose will also allow you to mirror that pose too. So say we want to mirror the middle, the torso. So we want to bring our torso using control right click to rotate on the Z axis there. Control left click will rotate on the X, and control middle mouse will rotate on the Y. And we're just going to key that. We're going to key it at the end too. Now we have this pose all the way through. So if we wanted to just mirror that also, it'll mirror that pose across X. Yes, across X. Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. It could be X or Y there. I'm not sure what's rig space for this character exactly. Let's actually look here. So it mirrors it across X. So that's cool. So now you can do one pose, and even with your middle controls, you can have the opposite rotation. And if you wanted to, you can also have the opposite. We move here like that, and then paste that here. Then we can hit Alt-M. And now let's paste that pose at the end, middle mouse click, and set a key. So now you have some translation there too, that's mirrored. And if you want to favor, say one pose over another, say favor the previous pose. So get a little bit of offset there. It's not great, not going to go through the entire animation, but that are, I believe that's all the ways I know how to mirror as far as like on the rig itself and not using a mirror data table that we won't explore in this video. So hopefully that helps you with all the mirroring. We have our hotkeys here. I usually like to use Control-Shift-M and Control-M. Let's make sure that's correct. Control-Shift-M. Nope, it's not correct. Not Shift-M. Oh, Alt-M and Control-M. Okay, so Control-M to select, Alt-M to mirror. Sometimes you might want to use Control-Shift-M. Say take the unselected pose and paste it onto your current pose. And then we were copying our curves across from one control to another. Then we were also using the, what is this? The poses, and using the pose to create a mirror and do everything from there. If I get it back up there, there we are. Key and mirror and select controls and paste that pose. So hopefully that helps you out in all your mirroring endeavors with the control rig. Happy animating out there and enjoy the journey.